Today we're going to be doing a quick analysis on about 5 currency pairs, and I usually watch out for the first 3: the Euro US dollar, the British pound US dollar, the Euro USD, while the British pound Japanese yen as well as the Euro against British pounds are currencies that we're just going to incorporate just for today to see if we can find some chances. So heading straight to the Euro against the US dollar, what we notice here is this is a weekly chart, as you can see, and what we've seen is major moves. So drawing the overall structure on this place here, it remains this. We've not seen any break of this high or this low. Now drawing the substructure that we can see, we can just draw this. So we had this break to the upside, and in the long term we're looking at possibly a low and then a higher high, pulling that into another, like the smaller structure. We could then head all the way from just the top here. We could say price did all of this and then came down, reacted above, retested, went above, up, and is now here and seems to be coming down. So on the weekly we have all of this, but it's getting too much, so let's just clean it and easily get our steps in place. Basically, we have one major leg here on the weekly, which is price making this move above. So we had a break to the upside. That's what we were seeing, and that's what we're going to be focused on when it comes to weekly structure. Now, looking between the discount level for a demand zone, we can't find any weekly demand zone here below the 50% retracement of the Fibonacci retracement 2. Hence, we're not certain price is going to come all the way down here, but if price does come all the way down here, then we're not going to be having like weekly chances. But we don't trade the weekly candles, hence we can go down to the daily. Now on the daily, we have clear substructures, and this is like a very neat chart. You can see the market making higher highs, higher lows, very, very beautiful higher highs and higher lows, very distinct, very clear, easy to spot. But however, it seems like price is beginning to print something a little bit different, to an extent, a little bit different. Until price breaks below this low, we are not yet in a downtrend. So we're still having something that's going to look more like a correction on the daily. So it's just like a correction. So price is most likely going to come to a zone within this daily and then rip off. Looking at the last move, we have this move right here, and we're going to focus on that. We have 2 daily zones, and price has literally mitigated one last week. So we had this higher zone and this lower zone. So with price mitigating this zone, what we want to see is a pin bar or an engulfing bar. So any day we get a good engulfing bar, we'll start hoping for price to make its way to the upside. Any day we find that, or we have a pin bar followed by some good move, we'll start hoping for price to make its way to the upside, possibly get here and break above. However, we are not just going to dive into the market just like that. So jumping into the 4 hours to look for chances. On the 4 hours, now on the daily, we are looking for an engulfing bar, right? Let me just write that out. So on the daily, what we're looking for is something called engulfing bars. And that is so small, so allow me expand that. So on the daily, we're looking for engulfing bars, while on any lower time frame, which is the 4 hour, not just any lower time frame, the 4 hour specifically, we're looking for the CHOCH, which is also known as change of character. It's not break of structure. Break of structure is not change of character. Break of structure is price does this, which is what we have here. As you can see, we did that on the daily. Price came down, went above, broke above this significant high spot right here. So price broke above this high. That is break of structure. This one is break of structure, but CHOCH is not break of structure. Break of CHOCH is, you see price make its downward trend, and then you see price break above the last high and retest, and you see an opportunity for it to start to go upwards like this. So church completed, church going through like that. So what we're looking for on the 4 hours is this. What we're looking for in the daily is the engulfing bar. So the thing with the engulfing bar is when the price engulfs on the 4 hours, you most likely had church structure. So you just want to catch it just before the whole thing runs. So looking here, most people will look at this structure like this. Let's just use this direction here. We have price went this high, came down here, went this high. Now the problem is, you see this candle was made by news, so we don't know if it's a high or a low properly, but we could take a note of the high and say, okay, that's the high, this is the low, price did this. So right now we can't actually get like clear truth here on the 4 hours unless we see price, you know, break above this high somewhat and then comes back for a retest and also moves like this. So that is when we will see we've witnessed a truth within this environment on the 4 hours. However, you could decide to use the 4 hours context, and using the 4 hour context, so I'm gonna highlight the 4 hour context here by hiding the rest context from the market, right? I'm gonna hide the daily just so we can detect the 4 hours. So this is the 4 hour context. Now we are dealing with the one on top, not the one underneath. So this is the 4 hour context. Now if we want to use the 4 hour context, then we want to see engulfing bars on the 4 hours, and you can see that right here. We actually have somewhat engulfing, but it's not properly engulfing. However, after that we have a doji-like candle. So this is the doji-like candle right here. This is it. We have this this bar that looks like an engulfing bar right here. I'm going to zoom in so we get this picture very clearly. All right. So what we have here now is we have this engulfing bar like right here, and then we have this pin like this doji, but it's a pin. It's kind of like a pin bar, and here we have another pin bar saying, okay, we're most likely going to start running for the upside. However, you can see this strong rejection here. It's quite scary. You pay attention to all the candles and you'll be less inclined to just dive into any trade. So this is a trade I'm supposed to be in after seeing this engulfing bar, but I kind of missed it, so I just let this thing stay. If I see price move towards this pin bar right here, my target is simply to watch out for that pin bar, see price make its way down here. This is a demand zone. This is another demand zone that price has actually met with right here. This is another demand zone. But if price makes its way and engulfs properly around these two zones, then I'll take a stance from whatever zone that is, placing my stop loss below that particular zone and then heading for the supply area. So this is the supply area. I'll head for it. If price does that below, more luck for me. However, this is like a very high risk trade. Very high risk trade. So heading into the British pound US dollar, you can see this is where I made a little bit of cash last week. But let's start with weekly. Well, general overview here is we have a clear low to a clear high, a clear low, and major structure. Substructure, we have this to this obvious one, to this obvious location, to this obvious location, to this obvious location, and then this place. This is the obvious weekly structure we have right here. And then there's a very subtle one, which obviously a lot of people are looking at right now. Is much more visible, much more clearer. We have this, then we had this to this, and then we had this high. You could see this high to this low, or you could just see straight to this high, but I prefer to see this high to this low to the high, and now we are making this low. However, this is looking more bearish to me already from the weekly. The weekly, if I pull a Fibonacci retracement across this last move upwards, allow me delete all these path tools. If I pull a Fibonacci retracement across this last move here, what we'll see is, you see price already within the discount area. Now we have a good zone to buy here on the weekly. Take note, this is a weekly demand zone, very clean one, but you just don't dive into a trade because you see a weekly demand zone, in case you've forgotten. What makes you go into a trade is you see price come in and create engulfing bar in that same time frame, or directly on the lower time frame, that is on the daily. In terms of a weekly context, you're waiting for price to create a choke within that zone. But I can't wait for weeks to trade, so what do? I dive straight into the daily. On the daily, I want to create daily time frame, daily zones, and right here I have my very first daily demand zone. You can see this one right here, and then I have another daily demand zone right here, which currently price is literally mitigating at this point. I don't think this market is gonna push up for a reason. I don't think it's gonna be a strong like up market. I don't want to go down into fundamental analysis this morning. And why don't I think it's gonna work? Well, like I said, this is an obvious structure, right? This is an obvious structure to me. This is an obvious structure. So if price has done this and wicked below this, there's less trust in this when price goes below it. There's less trust for price to continue like this. If price had stopped within, let's say within the area somewhere around here, I would have trusted it a little bit more than I do now. So now I'm not having like so much confidence in this market, in as much as we have a combination of both a pin bar, like a bullish hammer, and also engulfing. But it's not actually engulfing. Basically, if you look here, the body isn't, this body from this candle isn't as big. Excuse me, I need to hide it. This body from this candle isn't as big as this, neither does it cover this entirely. So if I had something like this scenario right here, but you know, invest here, I would have really loved to long for this position, just like the long position you had seen. I would have loved to go for that position right there. However, if you go down to the 4 hours to look for the choke instead, what you see is, you see price, you know, it's very similar to the euro US dollar. You see price do this funny move, and it's looking quite okay. Now, why did I enter this trade? I entered here. Well, what I did was I started with the 4-hour context. As you can see, this is the 4 hours context right here. And then on the 1 hour, if you look down to the 1 hour for, so on the 4 hours, obviously, you see the engulfing bar. You see that good engulfing bar. You see another one right here. This is very good. This is not engulfing bar. It has to be opposite bars together. It didn't engulf. But on the 1 hour or the 2 hours, whichever one you prefer, you would see a small structure here, not this big one that we know of. Instead, what you see is this. You would see this very funny structure. See, price made this low and then made the low, and price bust above and came back for a retest. So I'm going to remove the older one so you see it. You see? So this is higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, lower low, and then higher high, higher low. So this is the structure that made me enter this trade. And why did I step out of this trade with the 3,000 naira profit? It was simple. Price returned aggressively and went past the very last structure it had, which is this. So as soon as price came down below this point, I instantly walked out of this trade here, right here. Let me show you. I instantly walked out of this trade right here, instantly, because I mean, I would lose. I'll stop at break even, so I just stopped out immediately. And we'll see this trade through. Let's just watch how it goes today. see how it's going. In my opinion, it's printing another set of bearish like situation. You can see the last break of structure is to the downside. There's a tendency price is going to make it to this zone or this zone and then kick off for more bearish action. So what we're just doing is we're just monitoring this market right now. We don't have any direction or hope or belief of price doing anything. But if price is going to go up, price is going to go up to these demands, this supply zone. If it's going down, it's obviously going down to the lower zones available, which is obviously this daily zone right here. Heading straight quickly to the euro US dollar. The euro US dollar, we have the weekly structure right here. Zooming out for a structure. Well, the structure on the weekly here is very is nice. So you see, the last clear structure was to break above. Now the substructure on the other hand, I want to show you something that a lot of people must have missed. But you look here carefully. You see that price has broken below a low, created a lower high, created another lower low. So we've had 1, 2, 3, 4. Now if we end up having this and price starts to push downwards like this, there's a high tendency this is what we're going to see next. There is a high tendency, but then again, this is the market, right? We could still see price do something crazy and move above, move above. Let me just show you what I mean. You see price move above and come back for a retest instead and pull off even higher. But we're not trying to predict everything the market is going to do in this soon coming time. We're just trying to predict what the market is going to do in the next few candles. Now this is a monthly context, and allow me put this out of the way so it doesn't bring up confusion. What we have on the weekly here is this reaction you're seeing right now is coming from the zone we have right here. This is the weekly zone, and price broke below the zone but not below the low, and then you can see this reaction. So we had an engulfing bar. You can see what I mean by on the same time frame. An engulfing bar is a shoe that you can actually trade upwards. We had a clear engulfing bar right here, very good engulfing bar. Price did it once, came back here, created a morning star by coming down doji and engulf completely. So we're most likely bullish right now. We are more bullish than bearish right now, even though price just met a supply zone right here. I feel price is just going to come down, mitigate this and run away again. There's a high tendency that is what we're going to see. However, we're trading exactly what we can see currently, and what I can see currently is price is supposed to be making some bearish move towards this low, towards this weekly structure, this weekly demand zone. We can't trade weekly as usual. We go down to the daily to see what is happening. What I want to see on the daily is a bearish engulfing bar, and I want to see it from this zone. So this is the zone, this is the high of the zone, and price shouldn't break above this high before it gives me a bearish engulfing bar on the daily. If I get a bearish engulfing bar on the daily here right now, because it's already within the daily zone, right? It's already touching the daily zone. If I get a bearish engulfing bar on the daily, or I get a chooch, that is like some couple of days printing that bearish chooch around here, then I can start to trade for the downside, just like this trade right here. I can start to trade for the downside, heading for the first daily zone I have here, and then heading for the weekly zone if possible. But now, using the daily context as higher time frame context, I'm looking for engulfing bar. If I go down to the 4 hours, if you use the daily time frame for higher time frame context and you go down to the 4 hours, what you'll notice is what we're looking for again is the usual. We're looking for a bearish chooch in this scenario. We're looking for price doing this break above retest, so we can trade for the upside, for the downside, sorry. This is what we're looking for. And what we're seeing right here is not like the clear structure. This is the clear structure, but the substructure, right? The substructure that is inside there, but it's not too shouty, very subtle, is this. This is supposed to be down here, sorry. It's this, I would have done this, but that's like cheating. So this is this. So we've broken below like low, but we didn't close below it, and that's a problem to me. I love to see like candle close. If the candle closed below, I would have, seen it as very, very valuable. But seeing that the candle just wicks and comes back and wicks and comes back, it's quite scary to take that stance and trade it. Hence, I had a trade here, which you can see I stepped out from. Also, you can see there's no stop loss or take profit. I just stepped out of these two trades. 555 naira in profit. So I just stepped out of those trades because I'm not seeing good market price action. So that's all for the Euro US dollar, and that's what I'm really waiting for. Now for the British pound Japanese yen, I haven't analyzed this market yet, as you can see. So let's just do the quick analysis right now. We're going to start from those low, and basically clear structure is this. This two is just to every other thing here is still ups and down, and overall we made an up, so up. The substructure I have here is price making a good high, a good low, and it's heading financially towards the high, strongly heading towards the high. So it means I have a last structure here on the weekly. So I can delete this and we delete this. Now looking at this move to the upside, do we have a demand zone to come into? Yes, we do have a demand zone to come into. You can see it all the way down here, very, very far away. It's very far away. With this demand zone, I would want price to, if I was trading weekly, right, I want price to come back here for me to buy. However, I'm not trading the weekly area, so we'll go down to the daily and look for daily context. Now, right off the bat, I can see the very last sets of move. This is obviously a uptrend market, and it's a very clean one. You can see that that very clean uptrend move, very, very clean uptrend move. In fact, this is one of the neatest uptrend charts I've seen yet. It's so neat, so clean, so obvious. So on the daily, what it means is this is the last set of move I have here. In other words, when I pull a Fibonacci, I shouldn't be pulling a Fibonacci from random locations. I should be pulling a Fibonacci from here to see if we have like good move. But then again, now this is the thing you need to understand. Price does this, price does this, and when it wants to shift, you start seeing it do this. Do you notice how it spent a lot of time around here compared to other places? Looking right here, that's what we can see here. The price spent a lot of time right here. So take a good look at it again. Look at this place again. Price spent a lot of time here, and price is beginning to spend a lot of time here. So there's a tendency that we are now beginning to witness that shift, and the only way I can prove that to you is I'm seeing a clear engulfing bar here. Now it's not if a engulfing bar doesn't happen in the rest. You can see engulfing bar here, engulfing bars here, but it doesn't spend like time. It just does it and runs away immediately. But this time it did it and it's been spending time. There's a high tendency it's going to do this and rip away from it. There's a high tendency that's what's going to happen. So, but regardless, we have a demand zone right here on the daily, which is a cool one. And then on the 4 hours, what do I want to see? For me to think price is going to be coming back here, I need to see somewhat choke. Though I don't have a zone to rip off from, I want to use a 4 hours contest to trade for lower. I want to use a 4 hour contest to trade for the downside. So I'm going to be looking for 4 hour supply zones, and there is none. Basically, the only thing we have here is this gap, this weekly gap. This is the weekly gap. However, you can also take this as your weekly gap because price moved like this whole space. You don't know what happened in between. So if this is a weekly gap, we don't have anything to trade here. I don't have anything to trade here because I would want to see price creates like clear moves, comes back, and then I'll be able to say, okay, then we have something to trade. But right now, today being Monday, I don't have anything to trade here. I've seen the weekly, seen the daily, see the 4 hours, and there's nothing to trade here. Going to the euro against the British pound. Now, this is one market that I expect bullish price action. Like I said, I don't want to incorporate fundamentals, but fundamentally, euro is actually way more powerful than the British pounds as of now. However, without looking at, fundamentals, the structure ended here, basically, because, okay, price has come below the point here. So, okay, we have something to look out for. But price hasn't come below or above these two areas. You can see below, you can see price above. So, price hasn't made any high or low here. Now, the substructure, we have, I don't want to go through all of this, so I'll just call this a clear downtrend because there's a lot of up, down here. However, we have this uptrend coming up right now. And price is most likely going to rip above this before it starts coming down again. Most likely, from the way it's going, right? And that's why I said, even in the technical analysis, there's a high tendency we are seeing a bullish market. On the weekly, we have this possible demand zone. Keeping up again with the Fibonacci, this is the last breakout structure we had here. The last one. This is already mitigated. So this is the last move. And in this last move, I would say this is the best buying area if price goes above and starts to come down. But we can't wait for weekly again, can we? So what we do is we head straight for the usual. We already know the weekly structure is bullish. We wait for the daily. On the daily, it seems we're having like very, very clean price action recently across a lot of charts, as you can see. We're having very, very clean market structure, very clean price action. Price comes down, price goes up, price comes down, goes up. And over here, we have another clean one. But, however, we notice this first delay here. And that's something you should be watchful of. That's something you should be watchful of. And then also noticing this engulfing bar here. It's very, very clear engulfing bar here. It's something you should also be watchful of. However, trying to pull out our demand zones, we have this one. If price breaks below this low, we're most likely going to be heading for this next. So we have both zones out. Do we have supply zones above? Let's just leave supply zones alone. So on the 4 hours, now you can see the 4 hours price made this very nasty move. Now you can see created this price made this very nasty move. Now this is for people who want to sell into this area. Remember, this is the daily. So using the 4-hour context to see if you can sell for the daily demand area. So you can sell towards the daily demand zone. Using the 4-hour context, we want to see price come into this zone. You want to see price come into the zone and then create that engulfing bar. Or you want to go down to the 2 hours or the 1 hour and see price come into that zone and create a choke. But price hasn't done any of that yet. Hence, the only thing we can do in this market is wait. Is to wait. We're just waiting. Also, small advice. It's quite risky for you to do this short speed, chasing the correction move. Why do I say it's very risky chasing the correction move? Now, you notice price has made its way already towards the demand zone, so close to it, and moved away. Also, notice this gap here. There's a gap here, and that gap could mean price has actually mitigated this zone before moving up for this. So either way, you need to be very, very, very careful if you are trading or aiming for this to happen. You need to be very, very careful. However, it's still an opinion that's out there. It's still an option that's out there for anyone to take. Mondays, not really good trading days. However, let's just check. The last thing, which is going to be something fundamental, is we're going to look out for the economic calendar. And we want to see what today is going to look like. All right, so today we don't have like major news. Let's see what the week looks like. All right, this week we're going to have some news, some good news. all the way till Thursday. Thursday, we'll start seeing the shoots of PMIs and the rest. That's for the euro. Unemployment came for the US dollar, USD PMIs, retail sales information. Well, this week is quite loaded. It's quite loaded a bit. So let's just hold up and see. Keep our fingers crossed. Probably the only thing you should be looking at right now is the New Zealand dollar, as they just had their CPI news released. So if you look at for things like the New Zealand dollar against other pairs, possibly against the US dollar, you would notice they might be moving quite down. Yep. Okay, so this is something that is even good to trade. I already had like major markings here. I just need to know the time frame is coming from. Okay, this is coming from a 4 hours perspective. Wow, you can see it right there. Let me just use this last one to show what I was saying. So this is a 4 hour zone, which I had here already. And if I was watching this market prior, when I saw this, if I had seen this, I would be able to go for a long position, aiming for 4 hour supply zone. So you can see first 4 hour supply zone right here. The first 4 hour supply zone is right here. We have another one right here, another one right here, and that's like the 3 zones we have. So if I had seen this on time, this was like 17th of July, that was last week, I would have been in a trade already around here. Stop loss way below the 4 hour zone. That's a lot of stop loss anyway, aiming for the zones. And then on the daily, I'll capitalize using daily context. So using daily context, I have this as my TP1, which is already hit basically, and this will be TP2, which will be a 2-to-1 risk to reward ratio. However, you don't dive into this trade right now. Trust me, don't just jump and dive into this trade because I said so. Do your analysis, do your due diligence, and catch you all on another one. It's been quite long. I'll see you in another video. Peace.